Hey, and welcome back to the Love and Fitness podcast with your hosts Anna Clarke and
Yemi. First of all, we'd like to thank you guys for all the support that you've shown from the first episode. Great feedback, and we just generally love that conversation. You'll notice that on this podcast that we open up a lot. We tell our story. And our story is going to continue, and we're glad that you guys get to come along with us.
I think one thing we agreed on is like hopefully by us becoming a bit more vulnerable, you know, it helps people who like at the end of the day who we want to help, which is our younger selves. So by us being more vulnerable and opening up and sharing our stories, hopefully that does help somebody that might be in that position now that, you know, can maybe prevent them from making the same mistakes that we did.
Yeah, I mean, we've made mistakes, but I think the way I see it as well is like it's not. I don't really see them as mistakes. Really, I see them as like learning opportunities and just generally being human. I think one thing that I took from therapy was that, you know, we don't intentionally want to do bad things. We don't intentionally want to make mistakes and hurt people, but sometimes these things just happen. And it's just all about being human, and you learn from it, and everybody has gone through it. I think like everything that I've gone through, and probably you've gone through, there's listeners out there that have gone through the same thing, maybe not to the same extent, but in a way in their lives. But yeah, let's get into the podcast because right.
Before you move on, sorry, because I just have a little bit of a, I agree that with your mindset of saying that, like, you know, you believe that you can learn from things and grow through them, but I do believe that, you know, we, like you said, as humans do tend to make a few mistakes. So, you know, I think it's like having a mentor or a coach if they can kind of guide you through like what the best decision is, so you don't end up spending more time than necessary, you know, maybe not going the best route. That's kind of what I mean by mistake. But I do agree that like everything in life you can definitely learn from, but if we can help guide or like allow you to learn from it quicker, I think that's more so the perspective that I was getting at.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think my whole thing about kind of explaining and showing you guys who I am is that as you said, like it's just about being vulnerable. It's just about showing that you are human, you do make mistakes, and we're just normal people. Like we're not professionals, like we are not going to tell you guys what to do, but it's just that learning from our stories and our experiences may help you along your own journey. And I'm very open for you guys to, you know, comment down below or let us know what you're thinking, and let us know if you want to if our stories have resonated with you, and like a little bit about what you're going through as well. We'd love to talk about that and share that. So where do you want to start off?
To be honest, when we're talking about making a bit of a blunder, I think we should start there, because we actually have recorded 3 episodes previous to this one, but unfortunately our microphones were not working.
Yeah.
In all 3 episodes. So I think we're like reviewing it, and we know ourselves that like the episodes are really, really good and valuable, and you can see our growth throughout them as well. And it was a little bit sad and disappointing when we were going back to edit that they weren't there and the audio just wasn't cutting, and it was just like a moment of
yeah, you know what, like I hear about this on other podcasts I watch, and I'm like, how could they miss that? I can see
it's the main thing.
I can see how, like, because we just kept recording, like we set a date and then we just recorded, and we didn't really get to, you know, editing it and you know, releasing it for you guys because we've just been so busy. So we sat down to edit like a couple of them, and we're like, oh no.
We thought we had like a full month banked, and we're like, great, we're so on top of it. But I mean, the best thing is that we've learned this early on, and we do plan to do it, you know, for the foreseeable long term. So it's good that we learned this now in the starting, rather than it being like season 2 down the line, season 3, and maybe we've got guests on and it's like, oh my god, how do we ask our guests, can we re-record this, you know, after them spending so much time. So it's good that this happened now, but it's also a little bit heartbreaking. But I think we'll start there with the recap, because I think it's been about a month now with those 3 episodes kind of time lagging. So that would bring us right back to when you moved out.
Yeah. I mean, guys, everything happens for a reason, so you guys get us here now. That's all that matters. And I think the mic is working. If you guys can hear us, if this is out,
it is working.
We have succeeded.
We checked it like 100 times.
Yeah. So I moved out of my apartment. A lot has happened. So during the week that I was supposed to be moving, we actually had like, I think 2 or 3 days notice to move out of my apartment.
We had 1 day notice.
It was literally the day we recorded episode 1, we literally had to like start packing up the next day and move out. And we are now in Navan, in Meath.
We are my hometown.
I'm country folk now.
Country folk, baby. Navan is my hometown, so we're not like in the centre of it. We're like outside of it in the country. So it's kind of like, just imagine like being in a place where you need to drive, and the closest bus is like a 45-minute walk. So like driving is essential, and it's kind of like takeaways, deliveries, like they don't come out here, so you got to go to everything. But like, I mean, I love nature and I love being out in the country, and I personally love it. I don't know how you're adjusting to it.
Yeah, you know what, like I really like the countryside. I think I really started to enjoy it when I was on prep. So when I was on prep, I came out here. How long did I stay for? I think I stayed
just
for
under a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I stayed for a week, and I just thought it was bliss. Like, there was no traffic. Everywhere is quiet. There's a lot of greenery, and one thing I like about living here is that they have such a community.
Yeah, that's
when you're in Dublin, if you live in a city, wherever you're listening from, if you live in a city, you'll get the, you'll get the idea of not having a community, because everyone's kind of doing their own thing. Like, people will pass you by on the road and they probably won't even say hi to you. Whereas, like, if you go down the road here, there's always somebody that you're going to meet that you know, and they're going to say hi.
Everyone's our neighbour.
Everyone's your neighbour.
A 5-minute drive is like, they're our neighbour. I think I've said that to you so many times when we like meet somebody in the shop, or literally on the road when we're walking and stuff, and people just pulling up and saying, just stopping to have the chat, and then Yemi would be like, oh, who's that? And I'm like, oh, my neighbour. And then he'd be like, oh, which house is it? And I'm like, oh, well, our neighbour, like maybe 2 to 5 minute drive down the road, but still our neighbour. Whereas
my neighbour is like right next door.
I think I spoke to your neighbour like once.
yeah, that's the thing. Like, I barely even spoke to my neighbour, and I lived there for like 3 years. Whereas
I
like here,
found that so weird. I couldn't grasp it, because like I had always lived in a close-knit community, and when you were like, oh yeah, I don't really talk to my neighbours, I was like, oh, who lives there? And you were like, oh, I don't really know. And I was like, I was just like, mind blown.
A lot of people will resonate with that if you live in like Dublin or a busy city. But we're out here in the country. How'd you feel about me moving out here?
I mean, for when I like briefly was like kind of on and off living with you, it's not that I didn't enjoy living in the city. I think it was more so that you're kind of quite isolated, you know, like I found that I had to always go back home to meet friends or catch up, or like a lot of the time, like, you just invite people over, like especially during the summer, you just go out the back, have a barbecue, invite people over, sit on the patio, like that kind of thing. And like our gates would always be open, our doors would always be open, so like you could literally walk around and call into any neighbour, like without giving them notice. Whereas I find like in Dublin it was very much so like you had to schedule a meeting. It was very like, what's the word, like non-normal, or give me the word for it, baby.
I get what you mean. Listeners out there, you get what you mean as well.
Like,
yeah, it's very common. Like because as I said, like it's if you live in a very populated city, it's just so busy. Life is just so busy, and it's weird because you live in a place where there's a lot of people, but then again you can feel alone.
Yeah.
Whereas like here, it's the next house is like 5 minutes away, but then there's a sense of community.
I know that's a bit.
It's like
that's a bit drastic.
It's 5 minutes away. But yeah, it's a funny one. So, but I liked living in Dublin for the first couple of years, because like that there was everything you needed was just around. Like so much food. You know, I'm a foodie, so there was multiple options. Whereas like here, there's only like one Asian, one chicken shop.
But did you find that you? No, my thought's gone because my thought's gone.
No, go ahead.
No, I don't know.
We'll wait for her.
I don't. You're gonna have to edit this out, babe.
No. We'll keep it raw.
Oh, I think I was gonna say it, but we might have to go back on it. Did you find that it was just a novelty the first while, and then after a while it kind of got like boring to order takeout and food? And
I don't think necessarily got boring, but definitely got used to it. And stop appreciating it. You don't start to appreciate it until you move out and be like, oh, don't actually have it around. Did
you find it difficult to keep on track with your health and fitness goals, having the option there to just have like a takeaway in your hand? Like,
oh, I think for me, I'm the wrong person to answer.
Okay, not you, but
yeah.
Do you see?
It is, yeah, most definitely. And it goes back to when we were in New York, and I was saying that like if I lived in New York is just like a whole different level.
Yeah,
that's a busy city, but fast food in New York is insane.
That was one thing I was shooketh with.
Yeah,
like the day after your comp when we went to one of the chicken places.
Yeah,
and they gave us the food in like literally like I'd say like 2 minutes. We had ordered, they'd given us our cup before we even like put the lid on our cup. They were like, order, and I was like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Do you know what that is? That's just like decision fatigue. There's just so much around. And it's not necessarily like you want it, it's
easy.
It's easy and it's there. And there's just so many options. Like I want this.
Yeah.
But now, I'm in the sticks now. There's no distractions.
You're not in the sticks.
There's no distractions,
baby.
Which will probably make my next prep a lot easier now that I'm out here.
Yeah. Like I think for me, it was easier for me not to download all the apps and stuff because I'm used to not having food at like a click of a button. Although when I lived in Thailand, it was very easily accessible, and I did find that like because it was there. Like it was easier for me to just order, but it was also a lot cheaper like to order there too. And there's a lot of healthy options, so it's probably not a good representation.
Yeah.
But it was good
that massive foodies if you haven't figured it out. So.
It was good that I didn't download the apps for food in Dublin, because if I had seen all the food that was available on the apps, I probably would have had Asian like every single night. Yeah. That's my go-to, Asian. Just Eat, Deliveroo, click away. But anyway, so what has happened since then? So we moved out. We moved out here. A lot has changed in both of our lives. Yeah.
There's a lot of events. There was Christmas. There was New Year's. There's a lot of things that we need to update you guys on. So what do you want to start with? Do you want to start with our careers? What's going on? Yeah, I suppose like a career is a huge chunk of your entire life. So let's start there. Yeah, go on. Ladies first. Okay. I'm honestly not sure. Like all of the episodes are puzzled up for me right now, so I probably should listen to episode 1 before I went into this episode. But basically, I started a new job. I am now a 9-to-5 girly. I'm working with one of the NGBs for sport. So I'm working with Triathlon Ireland now, and I'm based in the office. I'm kind of hybrid / mainly office. That doesn't make any sense, but it makes sense for listeners.
It makes sense. I'm mainly in the office with the, I suppose, down the line opportunity to go a bit more hybrid. But I'm currently doing that. I've decided to take a step back, as I said in the last episode, from my coaching and PT, just for the year, so that I can really focus on myself, focus on going back to therapy, healing my past traumas, and working through that. I suppose in the first episode, there hadn't been as many, I don't know what you want to call it, but like triggering moments for me before then, maybe one or two, but very small. But I've noticed more recently that there's been a lot more. So I kind of just took, I suppose, I don't say executive decision, but like my own personal decision in the last while to be like, okay, yeah, I don't think like doing one-to-one right now is going to be beneficial for me and also beneficial for any clients or prospective clients, because I know that I'm not going to be able to show up at like 100% that I want to be, like, you know, 7 days a week, 365, but like I think for me it's also, I felt quite guilty because I know that there are people out there who had reached out to me and they want my help, and I know that I can help them, but I know during this phase of going through therapy that I won't be at my best and I won't be able to best serve them and guide them in the way that I want to. And I know that like it makes me feel quite sad about it, but I also know that it's the best for both parties, because, you know, they're not going to get the service that they deserve and I'm not going to be able to provide the service that I want to provide to clients. So, you know, ideally I would have had a plan in place, knowing that like I'm leaving coaching for a year, that I would have set up maybe courses and stuff that I can still help people with without me actually being like there in person. But, you know, like that, life just happens, and sometimes things happen and you're just not as prepared as you would like to be. But yeah, that's kind of my current situation in terms of career. I am hoping to, me and Yemi actually do have fitness classes, which for me are like literally a godsend. They're more like fun-based activity sessions with some light resistance training, which what we started that, I suppose, around the time we started the podcast, but now we're going to add in a higher intensity class. So for me, like, that's a way that I can still enjoy fitness and help people, and that still fulfills my need to help people, but in a way that's not as emotionally or mentally taxing as being a one-to-one coach, when you need to support the person a lot more and you need to be more emotionally involved and invested. So that's kind of where my head is at, like with that. And then I'm thinking, but it's kind of like provisionally right now, so just like thinking about maybe doing like a monthly like women's meetup where we basically like set the goals for the next month ahead, reflect on the month that's gone by. In a way it's a bit selfish because I want to be around women who, you know, want to achieve something this year, but like we're kind of at the age where we're mid, like when you're in your 20s, like there's a lot of people in the party scene, and I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad, but it's very tough to find other people who are like-minded, who like, they're done with the party scene, they want more for themselves and they want more out of life and they want to achieve things, and like it's really tough to find those other people. So I was like, I've been trying to find like a, you know, community of women who are there to support you with those goals, not just in your health and fitness, but wellness, in your personal, in your professional, in your financial, you know, in your relationships. And like I haven't found that solid group where I've been like, yeah, I love this. Like it's always just been like one aspect that like a lot of groups focus on, which is not necessarily bad, but it's not what like I'm looking for right now. So I was like, how do I like find this group if it doesn't exist yet? And I'm sure it probably does exist, but I just haven't been exposed to it. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to think about trying to set this up. So I've got like workbooks that, you know, are given out free at the class, and like a whole layout session plan for the 2-hour class once a month at the end of the month. So I was kind of like, you know what, I think I can set it up. So although I do think that, but there's always that like bit of like a doubt where you're like, oh my god, is anybody going to show up to the class, and like, am I wasting my time, and XYZ. But I'm kind of in the planning stages at the moment, and I'm not like forcing it. I'm just kind of like growing through my ideas right now. So that was a lot. That's the current thoughts.
That was a lot. No, I think I'll just let you speak there, because I think there's a lot of value in what you're doing there, and I think one of the reasons why why we gel and we're on the same wave is because we're all about self-development. The way I see self-development is that it should be at the forefront. Before you look at kind of like what you want to do in life, before you look at, trying to develop relationships with people, the first thing you should focus on is self. If there's barriers blocking you from being able to be fully 100% yourself and be the best version of yourself, that's the first thing you should tackle. So look at, what are my morals? Like, how do I really feel about certain things? Who am I outside of like what I do? Have there been anything that's gone on in the past that's stopped me from truly expressing my emotions, from truly showing my personality? And I think that's one of the things that we're currently focusing on at the moment. Even though myself, I have made certain career changes, I have developed new relationships, I found the love of my life. A lot of that came about because of the groundwork I did on myself. And like, I wish I would have learned that when I was a teenager. And I kind of only learned that in the past like 2 or 3 years. And that spurred all the change in my life at the moment. And I can truly say that now I am happy. And truly say that now I know who I am and I know where I'm going. Not in the sense of where am I going in my career, but where am I going as a man? What type of man do I want to be? What type of man do I want my kids to see me as? What type of man do I want my close friends to see me as? So when you're talking about taking a step back, it's physically a step back, but I don't see it as a step back. It's definitely a step forward. It's definitely a step forward. And sometimes physically you have to take that step back to take a step forward, if that makes any sense. And I think that's what you're doing at the moment. And I really commend you for that. And I think a lot of people will appreciate that. And there's a lot of people around you that are extremely proud of you for making that step. I, for one, am very proud of you.
Oh, baby, you're gonna make me cry. I do appreciate you saying this very much, because I think as well as like being anyone who is like, striving to better themselves and is goal oriented and is very much so somebody who wants to help and impact other people, like, it's really tough. And I always say to other people, but it's really tough to sometimes put yourself first and be like, okay, I need to look after myself before I can help other people. And I say this all the time. I'm literally going to cry right now, but I'm going to hold it to yourself. Not for the pod. But no, there's nothing wrong with crying, but if I start now, I won't stop until the end of the episode, and we need to get through this because this is the fourth time lucky. But I think I do appreciate you saying that, because
of course
it can be tough as you make these decisions, and every single day I question, like, am I doing the right thing? So
she most definitely is doing the right thing. I see her grow every day. Mentally, I see her grow, in her personality, showing herself and showing up for herself. So I'm excited to see what we both do in the next year. We have some big plans, which we'll talk about in a minute.
You didn't update us about your career. I know, I will. Yeah,
we planned out our whole year. But in terms of me, career wise, I am now a full-time online coach and content creator, which I have been waiting to do for so many years. And I think it happened for me this year, not because of anything financial, not anything physical, but I just decided to change my mindset. I decided to be more confident in myself. I decided to trust myself and follow my dreams. And, ever since I started doing that, about like 2 years ago, for just like chasing my passions, doing what I want to do, not caring about the people that will drop off by me doing certain things, not caring about what people will say about me doing certain things, and it's been amazing. And there's something that I really encourage you to do. If there's one thing out there that you really want to do but your friends aren't doing, or you're scared of what they'll say, or scared of what your family would say, just do it. Because if there's something you're passionate about and you're skilled at, you will most definitely be successful at. So I'm a full-time online coach and content creator now. I've kind of I've left the pharmaceutical world, but saying that now, science is still a passion of mine, but the way I want to approach it is that I really want to focus on building my business now at the moment. I really want to dive into the content and do as well as I can in that. And if there's things on the side that I can do science-wise, I will definitely do. So things like maybe potentially lecturing in the future, or tutoring, or
you did that before though, didn't you?
Yeah, I've done that before, and like writing scientific articles, reviewing articles and stuff like that. So that's down the line, but for now I feel like this passion is at its prime, and I'm like, I just want to roll with it and just keep the momentum up. And the business has been growing. I've been working on it the past 3 years, but I think within the past year it's really taken off because I put a lot into marketing. I put a lot into just getting myself out there. There's still a lot more I can do, and there's still a lot more plans in place in terms of like, how do I want to impact my community with the service I'm providing. So within the next year, you guys are going to see a lot of things. So keep an eye on my socials, keep an eye on my YouTube as well. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe, Yem's Fitness. Subscribe to this channel as well, but subscribe to Yem's Fitness. Yeah, I'm happy. To summarize it, I'm content. I'm excited. I'm motivated, and yeah, it's just about putting in the work. There's a lot of work to do, but I'm the type of person that I don't really shy away from work.
But you definitely don't.
No,
You're so driven and disciplined and self-motivating.
Yeah.
Like, it's very inspiring to see.
Thank you very much.
It is, like, this guy is up like on the clock, 7 a.m.
Yeah, it's like
rain, sunshine, snow, sleep.
It's something that I kind of learned growing up. So I was always studious in school, and it always registered to me like work equals results. Like, you study for a test, you know exactly you don't know exactly what's gonna come up, but you study everything on that topic and you get the marks for it. That is carried on in my life, because like, if there's anything that you want to do, as long as you put in the work and you're consistent with it and you learn and you get feedback, you're going to succeed in it. There's other factors like environment and where you grew up and finances and all of that, but if you do the best you can do, then everything else is left to faith. And
low-key, I used to think that like environment and family relations and who brought you up and things like that like had a huge impact on people's lives. But then when I met you, I was like, wow, like that is so not true. And like, that's what really shifted my perspective on things. You didn't have the best circumstances.
Yeah.
And to see how much you've achieved, and to see not even how much you've achieved, but the type of person that you are, was really eye-opening to me, to kind of be like, wow, well, you know, I need to stop making excuses for people. And that's what made me more curious, because I was like, wow, like Yemi is so amazing, and like his circumstances weren't great. My ex had better circumstances, and he was, in a very nice term, an ass.
There's that fear of being your parents, or being like your partner, or being like someone who raised you and wasn't necessarily the best person. But like, it's all about you have a choice. You have a choice on like the type of person you want to be, no matter what environment you come from. Because if you come from a bad experience, you don't want to then go on, have kids, and give them the same experience, knowing that it wasn't the best experience. You kind of want to change that.
Me and you want to change that. But not everybody wants to change that. Because like, sitting down and doing the work is horrific. Like, it's hard, it's tough, it breaks you down. And like, a lot of people are ego driven, and they don't want to face that vulnerability and face themselves as the, I don't say weakest version of themselves, but definitely the most broken version of themselves, because you have to break yourself down in order to heal the traumas and heal the things that aren't necessarily nice about you because of your trauma, and then rebuild yourself back up to the person that you want to be and aspire to be. And like for me, like, I definitely know, like, more recently I do have like these tendencies to maybe say something or act in a way that I genuinely don't mean to, but because I haven't healed certain traumas, it's like that's my initial reaction. And like it's not good, because then I feel like horrific that I'm like, I know how this feels because I've been treated this way. And it's like I don't want to treat especially you or anyone else I love, like, or friends or family, and it's like I don't want to treat you guys this way. So but I suppose you have to come to the realization of like, what type of person do you want to be? And some people don't want to do the work, and they don't want to heal, and they don't want to be a nice person because they've got so much hatred inside them. It's like they have hatred not just for themselves but for the world.
I completely understand that. It's a hard one to navigate, and it takes a village. It takes like, if a lot of people probably think that they can solve them issues themselves, or magically one day they'll just come to an epiphany and things will change, but it's a very slow process. It's not one that's going to change overnight. It's not one that's going to change just with one specific task, or if you have a hobby that, you know, gets your mind off it. It takes more than that. It's just about doing the work. All you can do is try.
Yeah, and I mean, let us know if you do, if we've had any impact in you guys making that decision. Like, that would be huge for us to know, because like that's what we're trying to do. But yeah, I think moving on from professional into personal goals. So Yemi and I actually we rented out a meeting room in a co-working space. So it is the Mill Enterprise Centre down in Drogheda.
We'll link it in the description.
Yeah, I had gone there before for an event, and Yemi you'd seen this reel, right? And you sent it to me.
Yeah, so it was a reel that was going viral for a while, and I came across it, and I just thought it was a great idea, because in businesses and at work, you probably, at the start of the year, have a meeting about like the goals that you want to achieve, and your boss gives you projects, and you set deadlines. There's a point of contact, who's going to do what, when is it going to be done, and what is it going to yield. And I always think, like, why can't we do that in relationships? And I know people probably shy away from doing it because it seems quite formal. But, this is your lifelong partner. You want to be able to grow with them, not just mentally, not just physically, but, your finances, your business ideas, your travel, your adventure, your family planning. Like, how is that going to happen if you don't have a solid plan? If you don't know where you're going or when these things are going to happen? Because with friendships and relationships, you probably talk about like going on holiday. Oh, we should go there, or we should do this.
Holiday make it
one day. It never makes it out of the group chat. So just putting it on paper and being accountable to the goals that you've set out, and I think putting it on paper as well, you come to realize how much work you need to put in to be able to achieve that. Because, for example, you want to save 10 grand this year, right? And you say, I'm just going to put away like a bit of money every month. But, bills come, taxes come.
You start window shopping, the impulse buying comes.
Unexpected expenses. And then at the end of the year, you realize, I actually didn't put enough, and you only have like 20% of it. So, plan out when you're going to do it, how are you going to do it? Is it realistic? That's another one, because if you put out a goal and you don't achieve it at the end of the year, maybe it wasn't realistic. So it's not about completely scrapping that goal, but maybe what can you do this year to ensure that next year you can achieve that goal?
I think as well, like, it's good to do this with your partner, because like, you want to really know them too. Like, people can say things and be like, I want to do this and I want to do that, and like, you then kind of fall in love with the idea of who they want to become. And it's like, oh wow, well, like, they said that they would do this, and you want to be able to, I suppose, pull that person to their word as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, maybe if they don't achieve all the goals exactly as they had written them down at the start of the year, just seeing how they've, I suppose, gone through the year, and not just like trying to achieve their own goals, but supporting you with yours, knowing each of your goals.
Exactly. That's an important point there. Like, as we were planning it, we were like, okay, we first went through our individual goals, and in the back of our minds, we were like, okay, how can we support each other in achieving that specific goal? Because I don't see success as just me succeeding. Like, we are a unit, we are one, and I want us to succeed. So if I feel like one of us isn't achieving our goals because maybe there's more focus towards one person, or we just really haven't mapped out what the other person is going to do, that means we haven't really worked as a unit. So I see success as us, being up there king and queen, Jay-Z and B kind of thing. So that's the goal I think that's the goal that I envision for us for this year, to kind of just both of us being at the height of our passions, both of us supporting each other, both of us adventuring, learning different cultures, developing relationships, which is a big one. I think one thing I want to ensure this year is that, the relationships that I have with people around me, people who I love, is solid. And, I really do make the effort to spend time with them, even with you as well. That's, guys, don't focus on work too much. So I think that's one thing that I think I struggled with in the past. I'm a very driven person. Right, and it comes from a place where when I was younger, it was the only option for me. If I didn't do this specific thing, if I didn't achieve this goal, I'm going to stay in this exact same spot. And this exact same spot is painful. This exact same spot is uncomfortable. This exact same spot is, it's affecting me mentally. So there was no choice but to make sure that all the boxes that I had to tick for the day was ticked, and I couldn't miss a day, because if I missed a day, that meant for me that it was reducing the time it was extending the time that I was going to be in that position. I didn't want that. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm developing relationships. That's the thing that I let probably take over developing connections with people, because I would prioritize staying up late to get something done instead of like going out with friends. And in a sense, that's a good thing, and a bad thing. Is a good thing because it's led to where I am today, with all the goals that I've managed to achieve and my successes, but then again, like, to the detriment of the relationships with people around me. And the people who really matter will stick around and will understand you. And I think this year I found those people. I'm sure I'm going to end up meeting more people in the future, but like, I feel like I really found a circle that understand me and know that, I will dedicate time towards seeing them, and the time that I dedicate towards seeing them, they know how much that time is precious to me. So they really know that, geez, Yemi really loves me, because there's so many things going on in his head, there's so many goals he wants to achieve, but then again, he's putting that thing to the side for now to spend time. And like, if you surround yourself with like-minded people as well, that won't be too much of an issue. But yeah, my circle this year, I'm working on making that relationship and those bonds stronger, the bond with you stronger as well. So there's gonna be downtime by 8 p.m. of stopping work. But that's another thing that we worked into the schedule, like, downtime, date nights, and there's a high priority on those things. I think they're really, really important. How do you feel about it?
When I say we've planned 2024, like, it is locked in.
Yeah, it's locked in. Locked in.
It's not airtight, but like, we've got all the 12 months planned, all of our goals. Like, it's very, like, we've got our different segments for our own health and fitness goals, personal, family relations, like friendships, travel, events, networking. Like, there's everything's in there. So I'm excited. Like, I'm excited that we have our plan. I'm excited that we have structure to the year, that I know what's going on in your life, you know exactly what's going on in mine. It also prevents you, like, I suppose when you're in a relationship, like, when you know, okay, this is the time I get to spend with my partner, this is who has to do like what household chore on what day, it kind of reduces the likelihood of getting into like stupid arguments or bickerings, and also like allows you to know, okay, like we do have that scheduled time, and not you just like, you know, thinking like, oh, you never have time for me. So, you know, I think it's good to put it down and both agree, and then schedule it into the calendar so you both know, okay, and then you can just see each other's calendars and know, okay, this is what Yemi's up to, this is what Anna's up to, this is what we do in our time together, and you know, where it overlaps, and it just makes it a lot easier that I can see what you're doing, you can see what I'm doing, and we can best support each other in each other's, you know, endeavors throughout the week, the month, and then the year. So yeah, I'm excited for 2024. There's definitely a lot of change for both of us. And yeah, I mean, it's also scary too, it's daunting to see everything that we have on our list and all the goals that we want to achieve. For me, it's a lot more personal this year. I spent a lot of time, definitely last year, you know, on friends and business, whereas this year I'm definitely spending a lot more time on my personal, as well as like building our relationship, and you know, focusing in on more my like health and my wellness this year. So it's definitely a bit of a, I suppose in a way, a bit of a selfish year for me, but I know that, you know, I've given a lot to my loved ones last year, so I think it's time that like this year, you know, I take a little bit of time for myself, heal hopefully, and then, you know, next year, you know, make the new plans to prioritize friends a little bit more. But I think in any adult relationship, like last year I spent a kind of like, I was chatting about this with maybe my mom, about how like last year I was in a situation where I could have flexible hours, and my friendships were very much so like, I want to say like that school friendship where like you have so much time and you see each other every single day and at the weekends, and I saw my friends like 5 to 7 times a week, which as an adult we all know that like that's
very uncommon.
Yeah,
Once a
insane. So like now I think I have a schedule in to meet my friends like once to twice a month, and you know, I think for me it is difficult from going to that, seeing them a lot, to like now just seeing them, you know, sporadically. But and I'm not saying I didn't have those friendships, like I have some friendships too that I wouldn't see them for like half a year, and then we meet up and it'd be like we had never not met like in the 6 months. But yeah, I mean more specifically with certain friendships, like definitely going from that amount of time to, you know, once or twice a month is a huge decrease. But I mean, it's adulthood.
Yeah, I think the phases that we're going through now at the moment, because we've kind of almost stopped.
We have stopped.
So like last year, my year was more not family, not really friends, but more self-development and career. Whereas like this year, I'm trying to focus more on family while still keeping up my career goals. You've been there where, you know, you developed those relationships with family. You consistently showed up for them. You made a priority to organize time with them. So like this year, I found that, you know, you're actually helping me a lot. She's actually helping me a lot with family and pushing me to meet up with family, and pushing me to meet up with friends. Even like when my family call me, and sometimes like I can be like so busy I won't pick up the call, but she'd be like, Yemi, your sister's calling you, or your brother's calling you, pick it up. Or like, let's organize to, you know, go swimming with the nieces and organize a day out, and she's probed me to do these things, which is great. And yourself now, you're going through, sorry, I was like
You get me off the chair.
I'm hinged now. I'm in the all season, so I'm big. I feel big. Anyway, I was saying, like, you're in this whole self-development stage now, which I have gone through, and I can tell you how it felt. And I can almost, you can probably like I'm very relatable in that sense. So
for sure.
you know that what you're going through is normal. What you're going through will eventually pass, and what you're going through is worth it. And if
I know that, like you know that logically, but then like
having someone beside you who's gone through something, you like you have confidence in it that like okay,
but you still have that doubt where you're just like, oh, am I doing the right thing? But it's definitely reassuring having you there.
Yeah,
you know.
And like I know it's hard as well when it comes to like the emotional side of things and the mental health side of things, when someone is not pushing you, but is constantly encouraging you to dive deeper into it. That can be hard, but in the sense that you also need that person just to, you know.
Yeah, I think you need that accountability externally, because like a lot of the time if you're not feeling great, like me specifically, I have a track record of it. Like I know how therapy feels, and some sessions are lighter sessions and some are heavier, and I know myself that like you don't know what type of session it's going to be when you go in. And like for me, I've put off a few sessions because I've been like, oh, I don't want to go back in there, like, but it's good having you there, like you said, to encourage me. So like I think as well, having that accountability from a person, but then you being able to be a bit more accountable to yourself and just scheduling it in. Like it's kind of like, you know, paying for your gym membership. If you do the pay as you go, you'll probably show up like once, twice, 3 times max, and then you'll be like, okay, well I didn't pay the rest of the year, so I'm not wasting anything. Whereas like if you just pay the year membership, you're locked in, and then that's the accountability. Although you feel a bit guilty, you're kind of like, oh, I'm not using my membership. Like that accountability is going to make you show up more. And although you're like, why am I doing this? Because I'm torturing myself going to the gym and it hurts and I'm aching after. But by the end of the year, you're going to be a completely different person because you've grown so much throughout the year. And for me, like one thing that I've noticed is that like I do tend to do that with therapy. I'll just like dip, or I'll cancel a session, or I'll push it out, or I'll reschedule, or whatever it is. So like for me, I know, okay, right, how do I make myself accountable to it? I'm going to have to pay for sessions in advance so that I know, okay, I've paid so much for these, and if I cancel, like that's a session lost. And if you do it once, you know, it kind of feels like, oh, it's only one session, but then you do it again because you've forgotten, like, oh, I'm after wasting that money from that cancelled session. Whereas now it's kind of like, okay, if it's a lump sum, it's like, okay, well, shit, I need to go to this session because I'm wasting money by not going and I'm not benefiting from it. So yeah, that was one thing for me that I definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we've completely switched roles. Like, I'm going to now own my own business from having a 9 to 5, and you're going 9 to 5 after owning your own business. So I think we can both advise each other on our specific phases at the moment. So it works well. It works well. So it's good having a supportive partner like this. So your partner should not only support you like emotionally, but in terms of your goals, like where do you want to be in life, physically. Where do you want to live? What kind of family do you want to have? Just kind of support each other, and be honest with each other as well about like what you want. Don't be fearful of having a specific goal that, you know, may take both of you out of the country, or you know, might involve a bit of compromise.
I mean, the worst thing you could do is change your own goal or opinions for your partner, because you think that's what they want to hear, or like you think it will please them more, or you just want to avoid the conflict, because in the end what's going to happen is you're going to hurt yourself more, which then you're going to resent your partner for, and then it's just going to hurt the relationship. So it's better you just speak your truth, and then you and your partner work through it. At least they can understand the perspective you're coming from, and you both know, okay, we've made an agreeable compromise here. And it doesn't mean that like we can't get that goal down the line, but like maybe short term it's just not achievable. Yeah,
it's all about communication. It's all about, have you guys ever made a story up in your head about how your partner has responded to you, or how your partner is?
Yes.
So like you could go whole days. It's probably happened to everybody who's listening to this right now.
You don't have to be your partner. Everyone, your work colleague, your friend, your parent.
It could be as simple as like, okay, you wake up, right, and for some reason you don't hear your partner saying good morning, and you just leave it. You leave it for the whole day, right? Leave it for the full 24 hours, and you come up with your story in your head being like, oh damn, he didn't say good morning to me this morning. He must not love me anymore. He must hate me. He must have been out last night with some other girl. And he probably said good morning to her, and he's not saying good morning to me.
This didn't happen, by the way.
No, this isn't happening. I'm just making this up. But you could come up with a whole story, and it might just mean your partner said good morning, but he has a sore throat, so it didn't come out loud enough. And
maybe you were really sleepy.
He's gone to work, and then he's come back being like, why is she so mad? So it's like little things like that. Just communicate. If there's something that, you know, has annoyed you at a specific moment, it could just be misunderstanding. It could just be...
Don't let it escalate.
Yeah, there's always a reason. It doesn't really... I don't allow myself to get riled up. We call this thing called like amygdala hijack. I did this whole course on emotional intelligence, so you guys are going to hear all these terms.
Of course you do. I want to do that course.
So it's called the amygdala hijack, right? So once you experience something, you pretty much... Have you heard the term flip your lid?
Yeah, kind of like...
You lose it. It's this whole system in your prefrontal cortex where you experience something and your immediate reaction is like danger or something bad or, you know, panic. So you just immediately react. You just let your amygdala activate, kind of thing. So one thing I'm doing now at the moment is that when something like that happens and I go straight to a negative thought, I just breathe. I just take a second. Whatever I'm doing, I stop it.
You are very good at that.
Take 5 seconds just to breathe and just know that, okay, there must be a reason why she's said this or acted a certain way, and then just communicate it.
You're very good at that. I need to improve on that.
But it stops a lot of arguments, and it's a lot better for yourself as well, because it can affect your whole day. For
sure. I mean, I'm very good at seeing the other person's perspective, and I do take that second, but sometimes I do be jumping to conclusions.
Anyway, it's human, right? it's human.
I'm admitting it. No one perfect.
Yeah, no one is perfect. Like everybody goes through it where they just like they flip their lid and they just like, light on fire, pretty much. Light on fire. I don't know what that means, but I'm patenting that. When you immediately react or you're angry, you're lighting on fire. Anyways,
maybe it's okay. Slide on by.
Yeah, so just take a minute to breathe and kind of know that the person is with you because they love you. They're not there to annoy you. They're not there to constantly disrespect you. But if you're in that situation, get out. But know that the person...
I was just about to say.
Yeah. Communicate and know the person that you're with. Yeah.
And if they're not open to communication and like their initial reaction is anger or ego or power, then you just get out of the situation because it's never going to end good for you. You
got to pick up these traits.
But I think we went to the place to plan out our goals and stuff.
And then we went on the tangent.
We tangented so much. We did, and we wanted to talk about do we kind of talk about goal setting?
Yeah, we talked about goals. I suppose the next thing with that as well is like, what do you do when your goals don't go to plan? Yeah.
So like, say you had a goal, for example, that was, I want to lose X amount before this date. And I suppose the first thing you can do to kind of set yourself up for success is making sure that like the goal is, I'm sure everyone has heard like SMART goals, make sure they're realistic, make sure, just make sure that it's most importantly a realistic goal that you have for yourself in the time that you have given yourself. I think that's like the first step before even getting to the goal itself, because if you set a goal that's way too high and then you don't achieve it, you're now feeling like, I feel like a bit of a failure, I've let myself down, I'm disappointed that I didn't reach a goal, I feel like I'm not able to do XYZ, but maybe you just didn't give yourself the best circumstances or opportunity or environment to actually get the goal. That would be my first piece of advice. What's our second piece?
Yeah, that's a really good one. The second piece I would give is that just keep going. Because it wasn't successful in one specific aspect of that goal doesn't mean that you failed the entire goal. I see everything as data, like everything. If I don't reach a specific financial target, for example, business-wise, what happened during that semester or what happened during that quarter that caused me not to reach that goal? Was it my marketing? Was it my clientele? Like there must be something that's stopping you from reaching that goal. It's not just that you're a bad coach, or it's not just that you're you're a bad footballer if your career hasn't worked. There's something, you just had to find that piece in the puzzle. So just take the failure as a learning opportunity and don't let it discourage you, because everybody who is successful, trust me, has failed at least once or multiple times. So keep going.
I think as coaches, and this will be very, well, I can't think tonight. Well, I think as coaches, I'm going to figure out what word I was trying to say. I think as coaches, like, we want to help so many people, and we feel like if somebody comes to us, like, I'm the person that needs to help them. But I think it's very important to understand that, like, you can't help everybody, and sometimes, you have to say no to certain people, because I think, like, as a coach, initially when you come in, you can't take everyone on. You see what type of people you get along with, what type of people, like, you gel with more, and, like, the type of people you love to help. And I definitely have experienced it where I feel grateful this person has come to me, they want me to help them, so now it's like, okay, I'm going to help them. But then you end up trying to help everybody, but you can't help everybody. And sometimes, those one or two people, especially in the early stages, especially like when you first go all in on a business and you're like, okay, I'm just going to take on everybody, because every single person means, okay, my business is growing, it's doing good. But sometimes taking on that person doesn't necessarily do your business any justice, because it's taking a lot of mental energy and stress on you, because they're not a specific client that you actually really, really, really help. They're just somebody who can help, but they might need a different way of coaching, and you're just not that coach, and maybe you're changing your style to suit that person, because I can coach like that, or I can help them in that way, but it's not what fulfills you as a coach. You know what I mean? I think that will resonate. What's the word? I think that will resonate with coaches. And, if you are looking to get into the industry, they're like just thinking about that and thinking again, like, who do you want to help, and how can you best serve them? And by taking on people that, like, say you're a sprinting coach or an athletics coach, and then, a powerlifter comes to you and they're like, I really need help, because they enjoy your content or they get along with you, they had a chat with you once. Like, taking on that person is not going to benefit them in any way, because they want to powerlift, and you love working with people who want to eventually run a marathon. Like, it's not going to work for either of you. And then what's going to happen is, like, you're both going to be mentally, physically, emotionally exhausted, and then, it just doesn't work out. So I think it's really important.
Yeah. But like that applies to any goal as well. I think something that's going to spur you on in that goal is going to make you successful in that goal is the purpose. So thinking the purpose of that specific goal, and thinking your reasoning why you're doing it, because that's what's going to keep you going. If you fail at that goal and it's not your purpose, you're going to drop it off. And it's probably not a bad thing. Think of, do you actually want to achieve that goal? Do you envision yourself being in that position where, you're a successful cook or you're a successful business person, if that's your goal? So just think of the purpose, and that's the thing that's going to keep you going.
But yeah, I think, like you said, what you do when you don't achieve the goal, just review it, what went wrong. Make sure the next time when you're planning your goals that you set, like, really realistic goals for yourself, and then just making sure that you know what your values are behind the goals that you're making. I think they're really good points.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help as well.
Yeah,
don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah.
I think we all tend to be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah,
A lot of the time.
there's no harm in it. There's no harm in it at all. There's always something that somebody knows that you can learn from. So,
for sure. Yeah, I think
we'll wrap
it up there. We really appreciate you guys listening to the pod. Hopefully you've gotten something from it. If you have, we would so appreciate you rating this podcast on whatever streaming platform you're watching. If you're listening and watching on YouTube, please subscribe, turn on the notifications, drop us a comment, share this with somebody who you think would benefit from the episode. We would really appreciate that, if anything. And yeah, I think that's it. We'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next one, guys.
Bye.
Peace.